episode 2, Young Trainer, Old Coach,
Hmm.
is going to be a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value in it. And
Yeah.
what we want to talk about today is mistakes we made that we've learned from, not as trainers, but in weightlifting, in fitness, in nutrition, that we have found to be not true.
Hmm.
So you start us off, bro. Like, what is one of the major things in your fitness journey that you used to do that you have changed and it has had marked benefits in changing?
Yeah, man. So real quick, I got real serious with training back in high school. Probably I'd say either my freshman or sophomore year around that time. And man, the biggest thing that I can think of is too much volume. I used to spend 2 to 3 hours in the gym doing what? I don't know. Because with how I know to train now, I would be dead trying to go for 2 or 3 hours. So definitely too much volume. I was rocking a bro split, so each individual muscle group, and just hammering away at it for 2 or 3 hours, which is overdoing it. So now I know, and going from then to what I know now is just too much. Now I know, get a few exercises in, go all in on the sets, make each set count, and you're good to go. You're not wasting hours, you're not wasting time.
I love that. And when you say volume, just for people listening, what does too much volume in that instance? You've used a time frame, but what is too much volume? Are we talking like, you know, dumbbell bench press, then dumbbell incline chest press, then dumbbell chest press, and then chest flies with cables, chest flies with dumbbells, dips? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it would just, everything you just said. I'd go to flat bench, go to incline, decline, flies, dips. I mean, just hammering away at all of it. Or I would have like go barbell and then go into dumbbell, thinking that that would help. Just doing too much. I think whenever we talk about volume, one of the things I've learned is your training volume per muscle group over the whole week. Like, how many sets did you hit on that muscle group per week? And correct me if I'm wrong, but around 10 to 20 is ideal. Obviously, 20 is on that upper end, but you can still get a lot of great results with just 10 and in between that range. And how I was doing it before, well over 20 for the week.
And what have you seen change since I know when we first started working together, I was like, man, that we should probably bring that down a little bit, bud.
Yeah.
The prevailing thought behind it is, because I used to do the same thing. Let's be real. I think most guys did. Is if I do more, I grow more.
Mm-hmm.
Were you growing then? And now that you're doing less volume, what does that look like for you? Are you growing more? Are you getting stronger? What are you seeing?
So now I'm noticing more changes. I'm definitely getting bigger. Now that also has to do with I actually am taking my nutrition seriously. So that's the biggest thing. But yeah, man, I feel better. I don't hurt all the time. I'm not incredibly sore the next day. I still get sore, but it's not just brutal, like where I can't move my arms because my chest is just wrecked. I don't hurt as much now. Like, I was definitely having issues with my lower back with that amount of training. I also completely neglected mobility and stretching, which is on my list of mistakes as well. And I would just hurt all the time. So now, like, I just feel better. I feel stronger and I have more time. Like, I'm in and out in an hour tops.
So let's dive into something else you said there. I know that when I was younger, I used to believe that if I'm not sore, I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have that same belief?
Absolutely. Yeah. If the next day I wasn't sore, then in my mind I didn't work hard enough. Or I didn't
And how has that
anything
shifted?
out.
And how has that shifted?
Well, now I know, like, it doesn't take being sore to know that the workout actually worked, right? I'm not aiming to be insanely sore now. As long as I'm going into my lift with each set is a high intensity set, I'm going close to failure, And if I do that and I know I'm pushing myself and still applying that progressive overload, then I know I'm fine. I don't need to be insanely sore the next day for me to know that yesterday's workout was good.
I think that's a great point, because most guys and ladies too, they think I need to either be incredibly sore or be exhausted when I leave the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And that's typically more so a sign that you did too much.
Right.
Not that it was a good workout.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned, how about, since I've been around, I'm biased and I know what I get to ask. How about as far as your range of motion? How has that changed? Your thoughts there?
Yeah. So in the beginning, all that mattered or I cared about was how much weight was I pushing. More weight, more weight. I need to be stronger. I need to push more. It was like you had that ego. Like if I was working out with a buddy, okay, I need to push more weight than he is. In doing that, I had good form in the beginning, but I definitely wasn't doing the proper range of motion, because whenever we're going into range of motion, I mean, you're letting those muscle fibers stretch and really kind of rip a little bit more, and you don't have to go as heavy in doing that. So when we started working together, I put a huge focus on a greater range of motion and really letting that eccentric just stretch out and hold it for a second and then go back into it.
It's huge. And has it been a game changer for you too? And in what ways?
Absolutely. It just because I don't have to go as heavy and my joints don't hurt as bad, and the lifts feel better. I feel better afterwards, even the next day. Like I can just move better.
Well, you mentioned mobility and stretching, and one thing that I think that is often missed when we go into a full range of motion, would that not be a weighted stretch?
Exactly.
Because we often hear, I used to think that lifting made you tighter. Yeah, it can,
Mm-hmm.
if you're training in a partial range of motion.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
That's helped you. What have you learned along the way in regards to nutrition, that maybe you believed before that you may not believe anymore?
So before, I didn't care about calories. Calories didn't matter to me. It was what I was eating. As long as it was clean, that's what mattered. I've realized now that, one, if you want to grow, you got to be in a surplus. I mean, you got to fuel your body. You got to eat more. And with the amount of volume that I was doing before, like years ago, I was definitely not eating enough. Like I was in good shape. I got cut up, but I wasn't growing, which is, I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted to get bigger. But it wasn't working. And I was like, why is this taking so long? Like I'm putting in the reps, I'm doing all of this work. What's going on? So in my mind, the workout was building the muscle, when in reality, the workout is breaking it down, and that rest and recovery and nutrition is what is helping it build up. So that was a big shift as well.
And how are you finding that as far as helping you recover? And with your food, do you mentioned, you alluded to earlier that was helping you gain size. Do you think that plays a major role in not being a sore, in recovering more?
Yeah, I mean, when you give your body the fuel, I mean, it's got the nutrients to actually help you recover, so you're not just depleted and broken at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely helped with the recovery. I feel much better the next day. I actually have energy. I'm not crawling out of bed just aching, hurting. I overall feel better. And I've noticed that with my clients as well, like especially the ones who thought they were eating enough, but they weren't. And now that we have them actually tracking everything, like, holy shit, I'm popping out of bed. I have all of this energy. My workouts feel better. I'm stronger. I'm noticing all these changes much quicker. So yeah, that nutrition plays a big role.
I love it. And that, you mentioned something else. Let's just keep going with your journey. You mentioned rest. Most men and a lot of ladies will go 5, 6, 7 times a week, thinking that that's what they need to either gain muscle or to lose body fat and get the toned physique. Has that shifted at all for you?
Yeah, I mean, before it was go, go, go. I was like, I didn't want to take a rest day. I felt weird taking a rest day. I was like, this is a day that I could be making improvements, when in reality, that rest and recovery is what makes the improvements. So yeah, it was that was a big shift, allowing myself to actually have the rest days. Like, I went from going 6 or 7 days a week, which now I'm at between 4 or 5, and I'm getting stronger. I'm feeling better. That's huge. Another thing is rest in between sets. That was not a thing when I was first going. It was like, all right, we got to keep going, roll through these workouts. Let's get in. Let's just get them in, burn it up. Because I was all about, like, one, breaking the sweat. If I wasn't sweating, I wasn't working. If I wasn't just absolutely exhausted rolling through each of the workouts, I wasn't working hard enough in my mind. That was my mindset before. But now, after working with you, like, give yourself 2 to 3 minutes in between, especially if you are going heavier. And that allows you to really go into that next set, like, feeling good, strong, and you can give it your all. So that shift was really from going, like, aiming towards quality now versus quantity, which is what it was before.
Man, I love all of that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that much. It's ridiculous. And people do tend to, I'm not excluded from this,
Mm-hmm.
more is better. More is better. No.
It's easy to think that, especially with what everybody sees online now. Like, I mean, everybody's just cranking out insane workouts and then going for these super long runs, and it just appears like everybody's doing so much, when in reality it doesn't take that.
It doesn't take that, nor do you know what the rest of their day looks like.
Right.
Nor do you know. What have you learned in regards to your journey, as far as, let's keep going down the recovery path, because that's not spoken about enough.
Right.
What have you learned in regards to sleep and rest? Because I know that you know, as a bartender as well, that can be a struggle. What have you noticed by putting more of an emphasis on your sleep from the beginning to now? What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of follows the same idea of just feeling better. My workouts are better. Before, I was on an insane routine where I would get off work at like 4 a.m. and have to be back around 10 for that next shift. And I would still try and squeeze in a workout before going into that shift. So when I already have 5 hours of sleep, I would cut it down even less and still try and get the workout in. Like, you're stepping over dollars trying to pick up dimes. Like, that's just not the way to go. So yeah, putting a big emphasis on sleep. Now, I also, growing up, I watched my father. He worked his 9 to 5. He was going to school online. He was getting to bed around 11 or 12, and he was still up at 4 a.m. at the gym the next day. And he did this every day. So it was that, watching that constant grind, like, that's what in my mind I thought I had to do. That's not, like I said, it's stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. Like, give yourself the sleep. You're going to feel better, and you're going to grow more.
And also, when it comes to, if I may add this caveat for anybody listening, if you want to watch your hunger levels and cravings go through the roof, do an insane amount of volume, and or don't get enough sleep. If you want to watch your cravings go through the roof, do one or both of those things.
Now, go into why that is.
Well, one, if somebody is in the process of trying to lose body fat, when we go harder and more, your body needs, I'm going to put this very simply, your body needs the fuel to recover. And if you are in a fat loss phase, you have to be in a caloric deficit. And in being in a caloric deficit, that naturally means that your body is below what it needs to maintain. So it's already not getting everything it needs. And then people tend to work out harder, which is putting more demand and more stress on the body when you're already not getting enough nutrition. So your brain is going to say, hey, you're a jerk. Give me more. And that give me more is typically going to show up as sugar cravings
Mhm.
because glucose is the preferred fuel for the brain and the muscle.
Mhm.
So that's where we can see a lot of people, and I've made this mistake so many times. A lot of people crank up the workouts, drop the nutrition, and then wonder why they have so many food cravings.
Mhm.
That's a very simple explanation of why.
Yeah. Which
And when it
sense, body's depleted of all of its energy because you're not resting. So it's like, fuck, give me some sugar to run on.
because we do know that sugar is the fastest, most readily accessible fuel source for the body. So no wonder it's going to crave that. And when we look at sleep, again, I'm putting this at like probably simplifying this far too much. But your brain, there's hormonal changes, chemical changes, neural pathway changes. When you don't have enough rest, your body, your brain are going to say, okay, I need energy to get through this day.
Mhm.
Now, excluding the way that I used to get it from narcotics, there are two other ways that we're going to typically get energy. One is caffeine,
Mhm.
and the other one is going to be fuel.
Mhm.
Calories are simply a measure of energy. So it's going to say, okay, give me more food to keep me going.
Mhm.
And very rarely are we going to crave chicken, broccoli, and rice when we're very hungry
Nope.
or when we're very tired.
Mhm.
It's also the brain's ability to regulate your impulse control and willpower goes down when you're tired.
Yep.
All of those, if you combine lack of rest, a lot of exercise, and a caloric deficit, you have a recipe for binge eating.
Binge eating, just feeling like shit, injury. I mean, all
All
of
of
it.
it.
So rest,
All of it. Yep. All of it.
simply put.
Very simply put. Probably far too simply put, but we're going elementary here.
Mhm. No,
Yep.
100%. That rest is, I mean, it's been key. Putting a focus on the sleep has improved my workouts. I mean, everything.
Now, how about shifts? Now, you mentioned that you were no longer doing the bro split,
No.
which is the single body part. How are you still getting your arms to grow if you're not giving yourself an arm day?
So, like I said before, going into each set, I mean, each and every set. I don't have one set that's like half-assed, and the next one I crank it up a little bit, and the next one is a little bit more. No, each set is going to failure or having 1 to 2 reps in reserve. And I mean, that means keeping perfect form, not cheating it, and just burning the fuck out of it. So each set's going into that. Now, when you're working out that way, I mean, good luck trying to do multiple exercises that way. You just won't be able to unless you go super light. But I mean, yeah, going into each set with intention and all out, that's gonna give. I mean, that's gonna allow you to grow.
I know that when we first discussed, we were getting our workouts in, and I was like, all right, we're going to do 4 movements. You were like, where's the rest?
Right.
And I was like this is it. And it was I believe it was a push day. And we did barbell back squat, dumbbell chest press,
Mm-hmm.
weighted lunge, and weighted dips. Now, in conventional wisdom, that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you messaging me later, like, dude, I am toast. Did you? So that is so different than what we hear.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're giving those 4 big movements, everything you've got, good luck adding more to it.
Right. And if you do like maybe one additional isolated exercise, like if you wanted it in that push day example, wanting to isolate the triceps a little bit, maybe one. But those dips, I mean, the bench, I mean, those, they take a toll on it whenever you're going into each set all in.
And if you are doing it from the way I'm understanding, I love the split, but we're hitting the push interior, whatever somebody wants to call it, muscle groups again later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
Just to explain it to people, if you are doing a leg day, right, or a chest day and you were hitting, let's say, 6 exercises,
Mm-hmm.
but you drop that to 3 on the first day and 3 on the second day, it's still the total amount of exercises. You may actually go down, but the total work done, which is the reps and sets, weight calculated out, will go up. Now, why is that? Because if you're doing all of these exercises, by the time you get to the last exercise, you're gassed. Whereas if you split it into 2, you have more energy to do those exercises, push yourself to where you naturally should be, because we have what's called a perceived rate of exertion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are not just tired muscularly, but you're tired mentally, basically almost emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
your brain is going to perceive more exhaustion than maybe your muscles really are at. So you may actually have more in the muscular tank, but your other systems do not. Again, I'm really, really simplifying.
Right.
But we are leaving things on the table, and just, I have to say it, this is where, like, people that are doing the HIIT workouts, and I'm not anti-HIIT for fitness, the burn boot camps, the Orange Theories, they're like, no, I'm lifting heavy. Based upon what your brain is perceiving, yes, because of perceived rate of exertion, because you are taxing your cardio, you're taxing multiple different energy pathways, and your body is exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
But are you pushing yourself to your actual muscular limits and capabilities? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also looking at it for the whole week versus, okay, what am I doing today?
Mm-hmm.
With the mindset of what I'm doing today, it's like, okay, fuck this muscle group up today, and not, okay, how can I space this across the whole week where I'm not ruining it one day, but building from one day and then again another day. And like you said, you're going to get more total volume out of that, which in turn is going to help you grow.
Isn't that interesting how that correlates to nutrition and how most people look at it one day at a time?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually the big picture. And you know me, I'm a very big picture guy.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very big picture.
Well, yeah, going at it for the whole week versus one day, I mean, that's a game changer in itself right there.
It really, really is. Like, so often we just give everything we have in one day, in one moment, and then neglect it basically for the next 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to go a little scientific, like, we want to increase muscle protein synthesis to that muscle group as more often.
Mm-hmm.
What would that look like? That would look like it hitting that muscle group twice, maybe even 3 times, depending on the volume you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to hit your legs 3 times in a week, we probably shouldn't be doing 4 to 5 exercises per time.
Right.
But it's just, and again, as you know, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
So give me one moment. I deeply apologize. You can run your face about other things you've learned. Give me 1 second. Okay?
All right.
Yeah, leaving you on camera by yourself, baby.
What up, Cluck? Sorry, just joined. Matthew's going to the ladies' room right now. We're going to resume as soon as he gets back. We're talking about past mistakes that we were making in our fitness journey in the beginning compared to what we know now, and how those shifts have improved our overall training and results as well.
All right, that was fast.
Welcome back.
All right, so to carry on with mistakes, to further some of those, I've made all those, and then some.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, not to reiterate the same exact mistakes, but I've made all of those.
Mm-hmm.
One was having my calories far too low, but let's stay in the gym for right now.
Mm-hmm.
One mistake, and this is not so bad, ego lifting.
Yeah.
Much weight as humanly possible, form be darned.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on moving that weight, getting it up, looking like I'm having an exorcism in the process, missing the entire point.
Right.
Also not controlling the descent of the weight.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing, I was missing half the rep.
Yeah, that eccentric, I mean, that's huge. That's been a game changer in my workouts personally, allowing yourself just to feel the burn on the way down, which is hard. Like, I mean, that way down sucks. And by controlling that and kind of letting those, as you lengthen out, just really feeling the tension throughout the whole range, I mean, it makes a big difference.
It does. And you're going to have to leave your ego at the door, because you're going to have to lighten that weight. And as soon as I started lightening that weight and really focusing on form in conjunction with a lot of other things, that's when I really started to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I really hate my arms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they grew. Mm-hmm. They're fine. They're fine. So that was a major one. Major. The other mistake for me that I have seen that I made was focusing so much on the big barbell movements, and that's in my journey. Mm-hmm. I've seen it in so many people. Just how much do you bench? How much do you bench? How much do you bench? Who gives a crap? Like, why do you care what another dude thinks of your bench press? Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking for myself and a lot of other guys. If you're like, man, my shoulder hurts. I see this all the time. Somebody in between flat bench. Mm-hmm. Stop doing flat bench. Number one, it's not a natural motion. Number two, you are going to tend to power through on your dominant side and create a lopsided physique, lopsided strength. You are going to cause all sorts of complications. Mm-hmm. You know me now. It is virtually all dumbbells and cables. Yeah. So focusing so much more on these numbers instead of what is going to benefit me just purely from a looks even standpoint, mm-hmm. that's typically going to be dumbbells, cables, things of that nature. Right. I have never been a power lifter. So why was I ever worried about power lifter numbers?
Mm-hmm. The ego.
It's ego.
I was the same way. I mean, I thought barbell was king. Like, if I was going to the gym, I'm using the barbell in some way, shape, or form, whether it's being a squat, a benching, or like deadlifting, for example, which is fine. And if you like those exercises, keep doing them. Not knocking them in any way. But I found for myself, I was getting a much better muscle stimulus by using machines and using dumbbells and cables versus using the barbell. I was able to push more weight with the barbell, yes, but as far as the muscle stimulus and really feeling that muscle and the activation, the machines, the dumbbells, I got a lot more out of it with that. And that has been something, even as a trainer coach, that I have learned is I used to say, oh, machines are for sissies, like blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I mean, actually, if you're working on hypertrophy, i.e. that muscle growth, mm-hmm. they actually may be superior in some ways because you're taking out the stabilizing muscles and allowing yourself to focus on the contraction of that singular muscle that you want to grow. Mm-hmm. So that is another one. The old school method of barbell is king, and for power and things of that nature, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it really does go back to depends on what, for whom, for what. What is my take on ample rest time between sets? So that is a great question. And yes, it depends. Mm-hmm. So if we are looking for strength, muscle recovery, hypertrophy, optimally speaking, we are looking at about 3 minutes. Yeah. 2 minutes on the lower end. If you are looking for more of a conditioning style workout, then I'm going to probably program something like giant sets, right? If you want just overall, depending on which energy pathway we're going for. So it does depend on for what, for whom. It also, with the for whom, if I'm programming for an athlete, it depends on the day. Mm-hmm. Because there may
be a day where we're doing power clean and jerk. Well, you've got a couple minutes in between your sets. We may do 1 to 2 sets, and that's that. That's it. Because it taxes the central nervous system so much.
Put
Go ahead.
it simply, if we had strength training versus conditioning, like you had mentioned, that 2 to 3 minutes for the strength, that way you are able to go into that next set, add a heavy weight, and go to failure. And then the conditioning, probably around a minute. That way you're keeping that heart rate up and just moving through. You're not going to be able to go as heavy and not as much of a load, but it's like you said, it's kind of different energy pathways and different goals in mind with those.
It depends on your it depends on your goal. And I am of the Jason Brown modality in this respect. Like, I want my cardio day to be cardio day. I want my conditioning day to be a conditioning day. I want my lifting day to be a lifting day. And then my active recovery day to be an active recovery day. So that is a big one. I did not take ample time, or I just took ridiculously too much time. Like, now you're just wasting time. So controlling the form, controlling the weights, barbell is king. Machines absolutely have their place. Barbells absolutely have their place. I absolutely adore cables because you are changing with a dumbbell. You know, the gravity is pulling on it at a certain point, and you lose a lot of the tension at another point. And again, I'm not going into depth here. I can answer these privately, but with a cable, you get an even tension throughout. With a machine, you're going to get a different load. That makes me laugh. Like, when I see somebody put a band on a hack squat, like, you're defeating the entire purpose. The entire purpose. So knock it off. I just have to say that. Knock it off. That has nothing to do with this conversation. It just popped in my head, and it really just annoys the crap out of me. Another mistake that I used to make was that if I get a burn in it, it's good for muscle growth. And that is just not true. I see this a lot with women where, and I used to do it for them and for myself. Like, if a female is working on her glutes and she is doing banded, like, side straddles or kickbacks to grow that muscle, and it burns, but I got a good burn. Just because you got a burn does not mean it is providing enough stimulus and weight to actually grow the muscle.
So what would you say is the difference there?
One, you're just burning it out. And there, again, if you are wanting to grow a muscle group, overload it. Overload it. So if we're going to stick with that one, if I have somebody wanting to grow their glutes, like, we're going to go with the kings here, in my opinion, which is going to be a weighted hip thrust. Barbell. Leave the stupid bands off your knees. It's actually hindering you. You may feel like it's not, but it probably is, unless you are having trouble figuring out the cues to contract, in which case it's a tool for that, but not for growing the glutes. Bulgarian split squat, deadlift, glute focused Romanian deadlift, weighted step up with a forward lean. Kickbacks do come into play at this point, and a glute focused back extension. Like, these are your kings. All these other stupid little things you see on TikTok are not. They're burning. Another great one was, I used to program sumo squats or sumo deadlifts for glutes. You're feeling it, but really all you're doing is tightening your hips.
So kind of going against what you said a little bit as far as feeling the burn, like, let's use the dumbbell bench, for example, or even a machine press. Like you said, you can really focus on the contraction. Whenever you're going through that and you're going to those last few reps, like you're getting close to failure, you definitely feel a burn. So what kind of burn are you saying, or what kind of burn are you talking about that's not causing the muscle growth, versus whenever you are pushing through failure and you're pushing through those last few burning reps? Because those last few reps, I mean, they fucking burn. So
that is different, but you are overloading that muscle with an exercise that is designed to focus on certain muscle fibers with enough weight to stimulate that growth. When we are often, a lot of times you will see somebody just doing a million reps or super lightweight with a banded exercise or something like that. Now, I am a fan of bands, especially in a bicep exercise, to give the cartilage tendons a break, to apply different stimulus. But let's just stick with the glutes here. Like when we see those exercises, like you're going to get a burn because the muscle's contracting a lot, but there's not enough weight there to trigger muscle growth stimulus.
Okay, so you're talking about the overall load.
Correct.
Gotcha. That makes
Correct. Another mistake that I've made, I'm going to switch over again. I had, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. I haven't had a day off in 37 years for my workouts. Like that kind of crap, right? Like, if I miss a week, this is a great one. If I miss a week or two, then I'm losing my gains. That is just absolutely and simply not true. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen that quickly, especially if you keep your nutrition on point. Another one is to further your point, like what you said earlier, like, man, I've only had 4 hours. Let me go to the gym. No, that you're being a window licker. Like, go rest. Because the intention, let's look at the intention behind this. The intention behind the workout is to be healthier, correct? If the intention behind the workout is to be healthier, but you know that the body optimally needs, let's say, 7 hours of sleep, that's still accomplishing your goal of being healthier. So let's reframe. Nutrition. Man, I in my lifetime being an 80s baby, it was that's a whole nother episode, but I'm going to keep it solely with this. We'll go down that another path. But keeping my carbs far too low. Protein way too high. Protein, if I can get 500 grams of protein, let's do it. I'm going to get bigger. No, shut up. Now, protein is not going to destroy anybody's liver or kidney unless you have a pre-existing condition. It can handle it. This has been tested at astronomical rates. With that being said, keeping my carbs too low. I've also done to get your carbs to really, really high, protein really, really high, fats too low. I've messed that up. That's how you throw your hormones off. Men, as you get a little bit older, if your fats go too low, your PP won't work. So let's just go ahead and keep that up. Okay. Ladies, if you do it, we're going to see all kinds of issues. Men, we can fix ours typically pretty quickly. You guys, if you're off, we got to talk.
So what would you say, to those listening, what would you say is a good range to follow for your
It depends on the person, but for instance, right now, my percentage is about 25% protein, 50% carb, which in today's prevailing world, people are like, that's insane. You're going to get fat. One key that I really go with people is really not to let your fats go below about 0.4 grams per pound of body weight. When we stay below that number, that's when we can really start to see some physiological things go wrong. If you are in a fat loss phase, obviously keeping the protein elevated. We used to think that when you're in a fat loss phase, you're going to lose muscle. That's not necessarily true. So if the protein is equated, we have seen human controlled trials where we have slashed calories, slashed them, and kept the protein equated and no muscle was lost. So that's pretty cool. With that being said, I thought the growth phase needed more and more protein. Now we're spiking the carbs. That way you have more energy to give more effort in the gym and to be able to recover faster and to fuel your body so that it can recover.
So ideally, kind of keeping the protein around the same range, whether you're building or cutting, but whenever you're deciding between the two, you're really kind of manipulating the carbs on that side.
Carbs and fats, yeah. I'm going to lower the fats. If somebody's losing fat, still exercising, I'm going to lower the carbs last, probably. I'm going to bring fats down, but I'm not going to go below that 0.4, and then I'll bring the carbs down a little bit. Like, unless somebody has like a photo shoot or something crazy, in which case, cool. Let's go ahead and slash the carbs, lose your water weight, and just be aware that your energy is probably going to suffer.
Yeah, to look good.
But that's different. That's an offshoot.
Yeah.
Another great one nutritionally that I used to believe was that spacing out your meals stokes your metabolism.
Say
No.
that again.
Another one that I believed, and I still hear it, is that spacing your meals evenly throughout the day um, fired and stoked that flame of the metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
That is simply not true.
Mm-hmm. So go into that.
There is a thermic effect of food. Is there maybe a slight benefit, but nothing markedly enough to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest benefits we're going to typically see between spreading out your meals more often with the protein is going to be triggering muscle protein synthesis more often, keeping that steady. Which, if you want optimal muscle growth, we're going to tend toward that direction.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, it is not boosting your metabolism. It is not stoking the fire of the metabolism. That is not a dadgum thing. If your coach or somebody is telling you that, I'm sorry, they don't understand. Now, is spreading out your meals evenly possibly a great way to control hunger?
Mm-hmm.
Blood sugar? Mm-hmm. Yes, it has a lot of benefits. With that being said, typically not speaking what most people think.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I used to believe was that your body could only absorb, let's say, anywhere from 35 to 50 grams of protein at a time. We also know that's not true either. Mm-hmm. We have human studies where people were fed 100 grams of protein at once, the body used all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that myth of you need to spread these things out or your body can't use it, that's simply not true. For most people, go ahead and just make sure you get your protein in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a big thing for myself, was thinking I was getting enough compared to actually tracking it and knowing I wasn't getting enough. So that was a huge thing, was actually taking the time to track that protein, which isn't difficult. I know it can seem like a chore to track your food, but it's simply placing your plate on a scale, weighing that chicken breast, and then you're good to go. Put it in the app. It's got your number. It takes a few seconds. It makes a world of difference.
100%. So that was another one, another myth nutritionally that I had. Another one of my favorites that I had that I have gone completely the opposite direction on is meal timing. Does it have a benefit? Let's go into the Broen first. The Broen of the anabolic window. You need to slam a protein shake, possibly even snort the powder the second you're done with your workout, or else you're going to leave gains on the floor or on the table. That's really just not true. Mm-hmm. Might there be some benefit for an experienced lifter? Yes. Is it going to make or break you? No. Is a newer lifter going to get the same? Is it as crucial? No. Where did that come from? Supplement companies are really good at their job. Really, really good. Mm-hmm. Along that line, while I'm just going down that path, I used to think branched chain amino acids were magic, and they absolutely are at creating incredibly expensive urine.
Yeah.
Branched chain amino acids cannot trigger your body to turn anabolic. They will not help your body gain muscle mass. That is not how that works. If anybody wants to take something, it's an EAA, which is an essential amino acid. There's 9. Branched chain amino acids are 3. Another props to the supplement industry being incredible at their job. With that being said, just get the real protein. That is going to be the benefit from real food, typically speaking. For endurance athletes, I used to say, hey, branched chain amino acids, are they better than nothing? Maybe, but let's just go ahead and get the EAA. With that being said, in the human studies, yes, I keep saying that, you might be better off just going ahead and focusing on getting some carbs in there. So those are all things supplement-wise that I have messed up. I was a very big believer that the more supplements made all the difference in my lifting routine, in which case I neglected to pay attention to the definition of the word, which is supplement. Mm-hmm. Like, I should probably not have more supplements in my cabinet than I do real food.
Yeah. And that's easy to do, though. Like you said, supplement companies are good at their job. They're telling you all of these great things by taking this stuff, which, like, yes, they have a benefit, but like you just said, it's to supplement. You don't rely on those. Rely on the food. Get your nutrition and everything from the food, and use those as an added bonus, or to pick up where some areas may be lacking.
Yep. The last one I really want to hit was that carbs at night make you fat. Well, carbs are energy, and if I don't use it right then it's going to just automatically turn to fat. Also, just not true.
Mm-hmm.
Just not true. Like, if you burn 3,000 calories today and you eat all 3,000 right before you go to bed, your body will still use it because it still needs them. Now, if you did that, might you have a hard time sleeping?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as energy systems go and caloric surplus, fat storage, things of that nature, that's just not how that works. As a matter of fact, I often suggest for people to have a higher carb dinner, especially if they're training early in the morning. That's what I do, especially if I'm going to be training in the morning. I load up on carbs at night. There's so many benefits. They're going to process while you're sleeping. You're going to have energy when you wake up. Not only that, what happens to you typically, Chase, whenever you eat a very hot carb-laden meal? Do you get more energy right after, or do sometimes you crash a little bit and get tired?
Oh, I get tired.
They help you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So, dude, you want a sleep concoction, dude? Go heavy carb and like smoke turkey for dinner, bro. That tryptophan in that turkey that makes you go night night plus those carbs, you are going night night, bro. Like 100%. So carbs at night are not the devil. And as a matter of fact, they actually may help aid recovery. They may help you sleep better.
And I mean, if you are going to the gym the next morning and you have a heavy leg day or any heavy compounds, I mean, you're going to feel a world of difference. But carbs.
You're gonna thank us. And my boy Ray Vera, I love that man so much. The father of the burrito diet. Yeah, dude. That's my guy right there. So nutritionally speaking, we got to hit this last one. This is going to be our finale. How did I forget this? Heavens to Betsy. Cardio kills your gains. No, as a matter of fact, it will actually and I'm not talking about running a marathon. I'm talking about zone 2 cardio. Will actually, typically speaking, help improve your gains. You are going to have better blood flow. You're going to have better nutrient delivery. Your gut is going to work better. Guys, if you don't want to do cardio, just remember it makes your PP work better. And you are going to be able to breathe better. Your oxygen, your VO2 max should increase, which will increase your performance, which then in turn should allow you to lift more weights, which then in turn should allow you to be able to get stronger, get bigger, build more muscle, and burn more fat. Congratulations, cardio does not kill your gains.
Now, when would cardio kill your gains? When you're neglecting everything else, when you're neglecting the strength training, neglecting your nutrition, and putting all of your focus into running or any type of, like, whether it's high intensity cardio or just hours of it, that's when you'll start seeing it. But the key point to that is when you're neglecting everything else. Like, I have a close buddy of mine who's training for ultra marathons. I mean, he's one of the biggest guys that I'm close with. He's very strong, good muscular size, and he runs more than anybody else I know. So that goes to show that cardio does not kill your.
It's where nutrition becomes very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
It is, but for that average gym goer out there, like, bro, it's going to help you. It's going to help you, and you also need it. Like, so what if you're jacked and you have a heart attack?
Not jacked anymore.
You jacked up. So do the cardio, and on the inverse, like, what's the best time? Whatever works for you. Is there a benefit to fasted cardio? No. So do what works for you. But fasted cardio burns the fat in your system. You're correct. Your body will compensate by switching energy fuel sources later in the day and switch over to primarily carbs. And your body's ability to use fats will drop. You're not going to outsmart the human body. You're not going to biohack it, knock it off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had to touch on that. Cardio will not kill your gains. When is the preferred time to do it? I'm going to tend to say after.
Mhm. But
I'm going to tend to say after.
realistically, whenever works for you.
Bingo. If cardio is your primary focus and lifting is secondary, do the cardio first. If muscular size and strength is your primary focus, then do that first and then do your cardio for about 15 minutes after.
Mhm.
So it depends.
Yep.
Chase,
I
any
agree.
other myths that you want to hit while we're at it?
I think that covers it, man. I mean, we covered a lot in that. I think that's good.
Awesome, brother. Well, I look forward to it, guys. We're setting this up. We're going to be going live every Tuesday, I believe it is now. And we'll be chopping this up, putting it up on YouTube. So be sure to like, follow. Also follow my guy, Ranbir. Freaking lovely human being, incredible coach, all the way out in California. So if somebody needs in person and you're in California and you're watching this, that's my guy.
There you go. There you
All right,
go.
brother.
All right, man.
Everybody have a wonderful day.
See ya.